press towards the mark to win the prize. You know, people that win a lot, teams that win a lot, people who succeed in life, they have a lot in common. There are certain things that they do and certain things that they don't do that somehow they all seem to figure out. And it's called the winner's code. Now, what does it take to be a champion? What choices do winners make? See, a few years back, Marion Jones, who was an Olympic athlete, made the news because she was caught taking steroids in her quest for the gold in the 2000 Sydney Olympics. She won 3 gold and 2 bronze medals, but she had to give them back. And she even had to go to jail. This was a total embarrassment to the United States because she was the first woman ever to win 5 medals at the Olympics. She wanted to win, but somewhere along the way, she decided to cheat to get there. You see, everybody wants to be a winner, but we need to follow the rules along the way. Now, I'm sure we all remember Lance Armstrong and his scandal. He won the Tour de France 7 times in a row, but he was stripped of all those victories a few years ago after he was caught cheating. See, in sports events, there can only be one athlete or one team that can win. All other competitors will have to return home having failed to achieve their goals. And although some of those athletes might be some of the best in the world, many people would consider them a loser because there can only be one winner. However, in the Christian life, this is not the case. In the Christian life, we can all be winners. Every single one of us can bring home the gold. So what does it take to be a champion? What does it take to be a winner? Now today, I'd like to look at a few characteristics that are common in all winners. And I want to start by reading a passage in the book of Hebrews 12, 1 through 13. Therefore, since we are surrounded by a huge cloud of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eye on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and now he is seated at the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not given your lives in the struggle against sin. And you have forgotten the encouraging words God spoke to you as his children when he said, "My child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline and don't give up when he corrects you, for the Lord disciplines those that he loves, and he punishes each one as he accepts as his child." As you endure this divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as his own children. Who has ever heard of a child who is never disciplined by their father? If God doesn't discipline you as he does all his children, then it means you are illegitimate and not really his child at all. Since we respect our earthly fathers who disciplined us, we should submit even more to the discipline of our Father of our spirits and live forever. For our earthly fathers disciplined us for a few years, doing the best that they knew how. But God discipline is always good for us so that we might share in his holiness. Now, everyone knows that no discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. It's painful. But afterwards, there will be peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained by its way. So take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that when you are weak and lame, you shall not fall, but become strong. Amen? See, in order to rise to the top, there are some things that you're going to have to let go of because they are holding you back. There are some things that you have to give up if you are going to make progress. And this involves making sacrifices. See, world-class athletes understand that there are things that you have to let go of that are holding you back. There are some things that you have to give up if you are going to make it. While others are munching on chips and pops, they are snacking on health food bars and vegetables. They know that there are some things that we're going to have to give up in order to go up. While others are lying on the couch and watching sports on TV, they're at the gym working out. And most Olympic athletes that compete in the Olympics are not professionals athletes who earn enormous salaries. They are regular people who make a living by holding down regular jobs. And it means they have to give up most of their free time to train for their sport. To be a world-class Christian, there's going to be things that you have to give up. There are things that you're going to have to say no to while everyone around you indulges in them. There are sacrifices that you will have to make and things that you will have to go without. Now, however, all this talk about giving up things and sacrifice doesn't sound too appealing, does it? You might be thinking, well, I'm not too interested in all that. Why is it that some people are willing to make the necessary sacrifices to take their athletic performances to the next level and some that aren't? The same could be asked of believers in Jesus Christ. Why are there some people willing to make necessary sacrifices to grow in their Christ likeness, while many won't? In today's passage, we see what it takes to develop the willingness to give up, to go up, to be motivated by previous champions. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witness. See, the image here is of an athlete who is participating in the ancient Greek games. As he prepares to run the race that is about to be run, he looks to the stands and he sees the crowd of cheering fans that are inspiring him to do his best. Many times, athletes have credited the cheering crowd of fans with giving them that extra motivation they need to fight back and win the game or the contest. That is why so much importance is placed on the home field advantage or home court advantage, because the crowd can literally change the game. I remember when I played basketball, there was something so awesome about when somebody on the team made a great play and to hear the roar of the crowd. It was palpable. You could feel it. It was very energetic. And as Christians, we have a cheering section encouraging us that when we feel tired, they're calling out to us to do better than we are doing when we are not feeling our best. The author of Hebrews says, we are surrounded by a great cloud of witness. What in the world does that mean? A great cloud of witness. See what the author of Hebrews is telling us, that we are a part of something much bigger, much larger, much richer, much deeper than we know. What are we part of? In this case, the stadium is not just filled with fans. The stadium is filled to capacity with the great champions of the past. These men and women are the heroes of faith who are enshrined in God's Hall of Fame in Hebrews chapter 11. Names like Abraham, Moses, Joseph, Rahab, King David, and on and on and on the list goes. So many so that the author cannot even list them all. They are all in the stadium to watch you compete. Now tell me, do you want to make a fool of yourself in front of them? No way. Look at them and be inspired. Be motivated to do and be your best for God. Follow their example. Seek to be like them. If you are not motivated, you will never be willing to make the sacrifice needed to be a world-class Christian. Let me tell you a secret this morning. Not only can each and every one of you win the gold, but each and every one of you can make it into the Hall of Faith. See, but this is not true of any sport, but it is true of the Christian life. In sports, just giving it your best effort is not always enough. Sports history is littered with the names of unknown men and women who gave the sport everything that they had. But they never won a championship. They never earned multi-million-dollar contracts or made the all-star team. Why? Because in sports, it's not giving your best that counts. It's being the best that counts. However, that's not true with God. He wants you to be your best, not the best. Your goal isn't to be the best Christian in this church. It's to be the best Christian you can be. That is what God requires. That is what God rewards. You have to give up to go up. Now, if I have to give up to go up, what do I actually have to give up? By answering these questions, you might have a better idea of what you might need to give up. What are you putting ahead of God in your life? What is consuming so much of your time that you don't even have time to come to church or serve in a ministry of the church? What is taking up so much of your budget that you don't have enough left to pay your tithe? See, you have to give up in order to go up. There are many things that you may need to be looked at, and I've chosen just a few of them here today in hopes that it might get you started. The first one is choose what is great over what is good. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witness, let us throw off everything that hinders. Another translation reads, throw off every weight. When I was in high school, early in the part of the basketball season, we'd put these ankle weights around our legs to help build up our strength and our legs as we ran. Of course, we would lay these things aside when it was time to actually compete, right? Because what we would do during training by building our muscle structures up would hinder us during the game by slowing us down. You need to see that we need to be aware of that there are some things that have helped us in the past that can hinder us today. We need to realize that at some point we might need to lay these things aside and go on without them. These things are not necessarily wrong or sinful. They just aren't your best. I know in a group this size, there's bound to be several legalists in here, that everything is black or white. It's either white or wrong. The truth is, not all of our choices are between black and white. Not all of our choices are between what is right and what is wrong. Paul talked about this a lot in 1 Corinthians 6:12 and 10 and 13. All things are lawful to me, but not all things are expedient or good for me to do. Many of our choices are between what is good and what is best. Now, these are really tough choices. Sometimes we have to give up what is good to get what is best. To become a world-class athlete, it's not about having a good training program, but having the best training program. It's not about having a good coach. It's about having the best coach. It's not about having a good diet. It's about having the best diet. It's not about having a good game plan, but having the best game plan. To become a world-class athlete, one must realize that good is not good enough. You need to be willing to lay aside even some things that may be considered good in order for you to become great. And the second thing is, play by the rules. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. If you want to be a world-class athlete or a world-class Christian, you have to play by the rules. You can't cheat. This is where Lance Armstrong went wrong. See, he was willing to make all the sacrifices. He was willing to give up things that others might allow. He was willing to work really, really hard, but then he crossed the line and he cheated. He thought he could break the rules for a short time and enjoy himself and his victories. He enjoyed the sense of victory as he crossed that finish line first. He enjoyed the cheers of the crowd, and he enjoyed the prize money of the millions and millions of dollars. But now, it's all stripped away. No more first place finishes. No more competition. The cheers have turned to jeers, and his celebrity into humility. His accomplishments turned into embarrassments. This is also true, that you must play by the rules in order to be a world-class Christian. This is why the text says that we must cast off sin. See, this is what you have to realize. Sin for the Christian is like breaking the rules. It's like cheating. In his word, God has established certain rules for living. He has established laws to govern our relationships with one another, as well as our relationship with him. And when we violate these rules for living, it's called sin. Now, you may cheat, and you may break the rules, and you might find pleasure in it for a while, but God knows. See, you will test positive for sin in your life. and all your so-called accomplishments be stripped away. Because you can't hide it from God. Athletes keep searching for different ways to mask the drugs that they use. Oh, and sure, they'll hide it for a little while. But then the testers always eventually find a way to detect what they are hiding, and they get caught. You might think that you are hiding it, but you can be sure that your sin will find you out. Take a look at Moses. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a short time. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking forward to his reward. He was looking forward to winning the gold. See, Moses had his priorities straight. He was determined to play by the rules rather than to take a shortcut to pleasure. The RSV version says that Moses chose to not enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. Moses understood something that we would do very well to understand today. And it is that there is pleasure in sin, but it's only fleeting. Pleasures passing away. See, no cheaters are allowed in on Judgment Day. And what about when people stand before him, Jesus, on Judgment Day, and they try to get in? They wanted to win, but they didn't do it his way. Jesus said that he is the door, and no one gets in by any other way. An important part of the winner's code is that you follow the rules. Jesus spelled them out clearly in his word. So what are your if-onlys? We are all created with so much potential, with so many gifts. If it weren't for our if-onlys, we would all go so much further in life. The problem with your with-onlys is that most of us don't even really see what it is, or if we do, we minimize the impact that it has upon our lives. Oh, Mary would be such a great secretary if she didn't talk so much. John would be such a great person to hang out with if only he'd take a shower. Joe would be such a great person if he wasn't so negative. For many of us, the only difference between mediocrity and greatness is our if only. One of the greatest challenges in life is to find what our if only is, or maybe what our if onlys are. The trick is to have people in your life who love you enough to tell you what they are. Although, even if you have some great people in your life, it usually takes an invitation by you and opening up to speak before your best friends are willing to share your if-onlys with you. The amazing thing about our if-onlys is that everyone else except us seems to know what they are. Go figure. So if you are wondering what it is that's holding you back, or you need to get to the next level, talk to someone that knows you. Take them out for a cup of coffee and ask them what your if only is. It may hurt for a bit, but if you listen and you make an effort to attack this if only, life can get really exciting. In closing, in the Seoul Olympics, sailing competition was underway in Busan of September 24th, 1988. The winds were raging at 35 knots and playing havoc with the boats. Two sailors on the Singapore team, Joseph Chan and Shaw Her, were thrown overboard when their boat capsized. Now, Canada's Lawrence Lemieux was sailing along nearby in a separate event when he saw the sailors in distress. He rescued Chan, who was exhausted from struggling against the strong currents, in his weighted sailing jacket. By the time Lemieux finished helping the Singapore team, he had fallen well behind everyone else in his race. But the judges awarded Lemieux second place, the position he was in when he went to the sailors' aid. And the International Olympic Committee gave him a special award for his gallantry. It is the first rule of sailing to help people in distress, said Lemieux, and when he was downplaying the incident. It is the same way in the Christian life. It's not whether you win or you lose. It is how you play the game that counts. If you model your life after the previous champions and make the choice that winners make, and learn to choose what is great over what is good, and you play by the rules, and you find out what your if-onlys are, you will make God's Hall of Fame. And then, oh man, you will hear the most blessed words at the awards ceremony. Well done, my good and faithful servant, as God himself puts the gold medal around your neck. Amen? Amen.